Hello, friends. For the past 10 years, I have offered 6-month subscription renewals twice a year. And I hate to say this, but there will not be a subscription renewal for the next 6 months because I'm terminating the production of this monthly broadcast for a while. During the past 6 years, I have completed presentations on the books of Ezekiel and Daniel, and this current study on Revelation will conclude next month. So next month's broadcast will bring my monthly video production to an end for a while. I have to do this in order to devote a large chunk of time to my unfinished commentary on Revelation. As you know, my commentary on the 7 seals and the 144,000 has been published in book form. It's the little white-covered book that you've seen for a couple of years. But I have yet to write a commentary on the 7 trumpets, the 2 witnesses, the 4 beasts, the 3 angels' messages, the 7 bowls, and the renewal of earth. And I hope to complete this work during 2008. While I'm working on the commentary, I hope you will systematically review our studies on Ezekiel, Daniel, and Revelation. There's more than 60 90-minute DVDs in these 3 video series. So this would give you more than 1 DVD per week for the whole year. And since we're all getting a little older, it wouldn't hurt to spend a year reviewing everything we already know. I want you to understand that our efforts to promote Revelation's story have not diminished. In fact, this month marks the beginning of our 20th anniversary, and interest in Revelation's story continues to grow. Our website is bombarded every day by hundreds of people searching for information. We continue to send out hundreds of free books each week. In fact, we recently printed another 65,000 warning books to meet the demand. We also continue to receive hundreds of calls, letters, and emails each week. So we are working at full speed. This is no time to lose focus, and I hope you will continue to share this message with others and that you will engage your friends in Bible study because we are living at the time of the end. Ready or not, like it or not, global upheaval is coming. If you remember the substance of my September 2006 wake-up report on World War III, you will recall that I anticipate a nuclear exchange, which I believe will usher in God's wrath and the casting down of the censer. Never in recorded history have the nations of earth spent as much of their gross national product on military armament as now. I don't have to tell you that tensions among the nations are building. And by the way, if you have access to the internet, I hope you will subscribe to Shelley's News Watch. This is a free broadcast which Shelley produces each week. She highlights items in the news that are prophetically interesting and informative. Of course, the Wake Up Report will continue to be published and mailed to you each month. So, like it or not, you will be hearing from me. And most of all, when the time comes to resume video production, I will certainly let you know. I hope that you have been as blessed with these video seminars on Ezekiel, Daniel, and Revelation as I have. As far as I am concerned, there is nothing on earth comparable to God's Word. Thank you for subscribing to my seminars and to these broadcasts for the past few years and for supporting Wake Up America seminars. I'm sure that when Jesus comes, there's going to be a wonderful harvest of souls, all because you helped to make it possible. May God bless you, is my prayer. Hello, I'm Larry Wilson, and welcome to the November 2007 broadcast. Today we're going to continue our study in the 10th prophecy in Revelation. Before we get started with chapter 20, Revelation chapter 20, I need to highlight a couple points. First, you need to be aware that the 10th prophecy in the book of Revelation began with Revelation 19:1, and it continues through Revelation 20, verse 10. So we're right in the middle of the 10th prophecy. And second, I want you to understand that Revelation, in order to understand and appreciate Revelation 20, verse 1, we have to understand the context of 20, verse 1. So think about it this way. Revelation 19 has 21 verses. Actually, Revelation 19 should have 31 verses. Translators just started a new chapter with verse 21 because they didn't know anything about the rules of interpretation centuries ago. So let's start with Revelation 19:19 to make sure that we properly understand the setting for Revelation 20, verse 1. Let's go to the computer screen. Revelation 19:19. John writes, "Then I saw the composite beast." Now, I've inserted the word composite because that's what he's talking about. "I saw the composite beast and the 10 kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against the rider on the horse and his army." Okay, verse 19 is right at the time of the second coming, and the kings of the earth and the composite beast and their armies are all ready to make war against Jesus, the rider on the white horse, earlier mentioned in Revelation 19. So this scene in chapter 19 aligns with the 6th bowl in chapter 16. If you remember, back in chapter 16, when we studied these 7 bowls, 3 demons were sent out in the 6th bowl to convince the 10 kings that they should join forces with Lucifer in destroying Jesus at the second coming. It's their only chance of survival. So the kings go out, prepared to make war on the Lamb, and the 6th bowl consists of a very short battle called Armageddon. This battle will end almost as soon as it begins, and here's why. Revelation 19:20. But the composite beast was easily captured. Where is he going to go? Jesus and his army fills the entire sky, completely encircling the earth. So where is the composite beast going to go? So the beast was captured, and with him the false prophet, that is Lucifer, the lamb-like beast, who had performed the miraculous signs on behalf of the composite beast. We remember that when we studied Revelation 13. And with these signs, Lucifer had deluded those who had received the mark of the beast and worshiped his image. His image is the prostitute, the one world government, one world church state. The 2 of them, that is Lucifer and the composite beast, Lucifer being the lamb-like beast, the false prophet, the 2 of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur, and I'm adding here, which will burn intensely during the 1,000 years. Now, I want to say a few words about this lake of fire because it confuses a lot of people. So listen carefully. Lucifer, his angels, and all of his employees, that is, those who are working for his one world church state, will be thrown alive into a fiery lake of burning sulfur at the second coming. Jesus uses fire to destroy the great prostitute because she is the last fallen government on earth. Now listen carefully to what I'm about to say, because this part of the story really confuses a lot of people. Here it is. When Jesus arrives at the second coming, you know that's the Battle of Armageddon, he will throw the devil and his angels and all of his worldwide government into a huge lake of burning sulfur that suddenly ignites. This fire will break out from the Lord, and I believe it will engulf the oceans of earth. The oceans. That's right, the oceans will be on fire. I know that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but just please follow along for a minute. Remember, at this point in time, everything in the oceans is dead. And I believe the Bible is clear, the oceans will burn for 1,000 years as though they were full of kerosene. Millions of people who served in Lucifer's government all around the world will be thrown alive into the ocean of fire, this great lake of fire. But Lucifer and his angels, although they are thrown into this lake of fire, they will not die in this fire. Only their assumed bodies will be destroyed. Now, this is difficult to explain, so carefully think this through. By taking away their physical bodies once again, the devil and his angels are returned to the abyss, or what we call the spirit realm. I'll say more about this in just a moment. For now, you need to know that A, Lucifer and his angels will have their bodies destroyed, but they are returned to the abyss for the 1,000 years. See, in the fifth trumpet, when Lucifer and his angels come up out of the spirit realm, they are given bodies. And it's these bodies that are taken away, destroyed, so that they can be returned to where they were. You also need to know that B, all of the wicked who served in Lucifer's government will also be thrown into the lake of fire. And last, item C, all of the remaining wicked people who are alive on earth at the time of the second coming will be killed by a command that comes out of the mouth of Jesus. He speaks them to death, much like he speaks the righteous dead to life. The same voice that gives life commands death. So all of the remaining wicked, I'm not talking about those who served in Lucifer's government, I'm talking about the rest of the world. All of the remaining wicked people will be killed by a command that comes out of the mouth of Jesus, and this is described in Revelation 19:21. It says, the rest of them, that is, the wicked who are not employees of Lucifer's government, were killed with the sword that came out of the mouth of the rider on the horse. That is, Jesus speaks. And the voice that calls the righteous dead to life is the same voice that commands the wicked to die. And his command to destroy the wicked is called or described as a sword that comes out of his mouth. And Revelation 19 verse 21 ends by saying, and all the birds gorge themselves on their flesh. Okay, you can see these people aren't burned up. They are just simply slain by a command that comes from the mouth of Jesus. And the birds will eat their flesh. Okay, let's make sure we have this clearly understood. At the second coming, a lake of fire will ignite. I believe the oceans will be set on fire. I'll explain this more in just a moment. And they will burn continuously for 1,000 years. The oceans of earth will burn continuously for 1,000 years. Now, you know why there will not be any more oceans at the end of sin's drama. Have you ever wondered about Revelation 21, verse 1? It goes like this. John writes, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea." Now, you have to recall, let's try to put this in some perspective for a moment. In John's day, the ocean that he was acquainted with is what we call the Mediterranean Sea. John didn't know about the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean. He just knew about the Mediterranean Sea. And that was a huge body of water that in his day, and they didn't know where the Mediterranean Sea led to or its source of water. They just knew it was a huge body of water. Well, I'm saying that in the earth made new, there is no longer any oceans. They're all burned up. They're destroyed. And you remember back in the 7 bowls, when God pours out his plague upon the oceans, everything in the oceans is killed. The idea of burning up the oceans and getting rid of them is simple. God converts the space into land so that every saint who has ever lived, when taken to the earth made new, every saint will have a generous inheritance of land. Billions of people with space enough for everyone. How do you like that? I do. Now there's more to this. I haven't had a chance to unfold it, but I will as we go along. I'm just putting a new idea perhaps in your mind, and I want you to consider it. Let's go back to the computer screen. For the moment, you need to know that the physical bodies which the devil and his angels assumed at the 5th trumpet will be burned up in this fire at the second coming. But the devil and his angels are not harmed. Rather, their bodies are destroyed so that they can be put back into the abyss. But those people who served in Lucifer's government will be thrown into this fire, and they will perish. Employees of the great prostitute will be thrown into this lake of fire, and this is how they die at the second coming. Keep in mind, this death in the lake of fire at the second coming is not the second death for them nor anyone. The second death does not occur until the end of the 1,000 years. In fact, until the 1,000 years are ended, no one but Jesus has experienced the second death. So the death experienced by the wicked employees of Lucifer's government is like people dying in a great calamitous event like the destruction of Twin Towers today. They are burned up. They are killed, but it's not the second death. And in fact, the rest of the wicked that are killed by the command that comes out of Jesus' mouth, this is not the second death for them either. So the wicked will die at the second coming in 2 ways. Some will be burned up, and some will die as a result of Jesus commanding them to die. The point in both cases is that they die. The wicked are dead. Also, those who participated in the crucifixion of Jesus. We know, according to John in Revelation 1, that they will be resurrected to see Jesus appear at the second coming. And then they will die with the wicked, for they are wicked, by the sword that comes out of the mouth of Jesus. Keep in mind that the second death does not occur until the end of the 1,000 years. So everyone who dies at the second coming is simply put to sleep. This is kind of interesting. Jesus leaves the vultures a great feast as the saints depart this totally ruined planet for their heavenly home, which Jesus has prepared for them. So at the second coming, The wicked are all dead, and the righteous are caught up in the air to meet the Lord, because they're going back to live with Jesus in the New Jerusalem for the 1,000 years. Now that you know these things, and I'll say more about them as this unfolds, we're ready to go to Revelation 20, verse 1, which should really be Revelation 19, verse 22. There shouldn't be a chapter division here, but the translators didn't know about the rules of interpretation. And I saw an angel, John says, coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil, or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss, and locked and sealed it over him, to keep him from deceiving the nations any more, until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be set free to deceive the nations for a short time. All right, 2 points now I want you to consider. Lucifer and his angels have been locked in the abyss ever since they were cast out of heaven on Resurrection Sunday. This means that Lucifer and his angels cannot leave earth, and they cannot be seen. Remember, prior to Resurrection Sunday, Lucifer and his angels could travel about. And in fact, we read in Job 1 how that Lucifer met with the other angels at some meeting somewhere dealing with the sons of God when God called them together to have an administrative meeting. But when Lucifer was cast out of heaven on Resurrection Sunday, he was locked into the abyss. He can no longer travel around to the other worlds. He cannot go to heaven and represent and plead his case. And in fact, the fact that he was cast out of heaven on Resurrection Sunday proves that he could go there, and his angels with him. Look what the King James Version says, Revelation 12:9. And the great dragon was cast out of heaven, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out of heaven with him. This, you see, they could go to heaven and present their case, as in Job 1 we read. But on Resurrection Sunday, that all came to an end. He was cast into the earth, and his angels with him, and he was locked into the abyss. Even though the devil has been locked in the abyss for the past 2,000 years, he's been able to trouble and deceive the nations of earth at will. This fact is declared in Revelation 12:12. This is just 3 verses later. Remember the voice that cries from heaven, but woe to the earth and sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. 1 Peter 5:8 tells us, be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking or looking for someone to devour. The point here is that even though Lucifer has been confined to earth and made invisible, his demonic efforts to overcome mankind have not been restricted. However, the Bible tells us that at the 5th trumpet, the devil will be released from the invisible realm, and he will receive a body and physically appear before the people of earth. Look at Revelation 9:1. The 5th angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. And jumping down to verse 11, we know that they, the demons that are locked in the abyss with Lucifer, they had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek Apollyon. In other words, for the Jew in the Hebrew language and for the Gentile in the Greek language. It doesn't matter which you are, Jew or Gentile, because the name means one thing. Abaddon and Apollyon mean destroyer. And God releases the devil to destroy the world and to bring it to a close in the fifth trumpet. All right, I want to show you a little chart I've drawn here. And then I'm going to read a verse from Revelation 17. Up here in the left-hand corner, notice that the great red dragon is visible to John, and John saw him cast out of heaven on Resurrection Sunday. And so this little X represents Resurrection Sunday in AD 30. That would be April 11, AD 30, Sunday, April 11, cast out of heaven. And so when he was then visible, he's cast into the abyss, and now for the next 2,000 years, he is not visible. He's in the abyss during this 2,000 years. At the fifth trumpet, though, the devil is given the key to the abyss, and out he comes, and he is visible from the fifth trumpet down to the time of the second coming. At the second coming, this is when the angel comes down. You know, God, Jesus, throws the bodies, the beast and the false prophet, into the fiery lake, and the angel comes down and locks him in the abyss so that he is not visible for the 1,000 years that are coming. And he can't go anywhere. He's back to where he was. The destroyer is visible for a short period of time. 445 days, as I understand it. Okay? So here he was visible, now he is not visible. Then he comes up and he is visible, and now after his body and the bodies of his angels are thrown back into the lake of fire, he's no longer visible. Okay? Now you understand Revelation 17:8. Notice what the scripture says. Talking about the lamb-like beast, which is cast out of heaven, the great red dragon, he says, the beast which you saw, talking to John, you saw him, once was visible, now is not visible. I'm inserting the word visible. And will come up out of the abyss and be visible and go to his destruction. There's only one beast that comes up out of the abyss, and that's in Revelation 13. The lamb-like beast comes up out of the earth. Now watch. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they what? When they behold, when they see the beast. Because he once was visible, now is not visible, and yet will come up out of the abyss and be fully visible. That's why they will be astonished, is because the world is going to see the devil. I'm hoping you understand what I'm trying to say. So, Revelation 20 verse 3 says, he, the angel, threw him, that is Lucifer, into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him to keep him from deceiving the nations. The word nations here is the Greek word ethnos, which means people or peoples. So he's put into the abyss to keep him from deceiving the nations, the ethnos, anymore until the 1,000 years were ended. Now this sentence misleads a lot of good people. Many Christians read this verse and they think it affirms that Jesus and the saints will be on earth during the 1,000 years because this sentence says that Satan cannot torment the nations who, they say, must be present on earth until the 1,000 years are ended. But let's take a closer look. In John 14:2, Jesus said, in my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I am going there to prepare a place for you. In my Father's house, I'm going there. And if I go there and prepare a place for you, I will come back here. This is like Sesame Street. Here, there. If I go there and prepare a place for you, I will come back here and take you there to be with me, that you also may be where I am going. That's what Jesus is saying. Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians 4:16, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven, and with a loud command, and with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, after the resurrection of the dead, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will be with the Lord forever." We're going to be with the Lord. The Lord's not going to be with us. We're going to be with him. So why do the dead and living saints meet the Lord in the air? Simple. Jesus said, "I will come back here," in John 14, "and take you to my Father's house to be with me, that you also may be where I am." So during 1,000 years, the earth will be desolate, dead, totally vacant of life, and the oceans will be roaring with fire. The righteous will be with the Lord in heaven, living in New Jerusalem, and the wicked who are alive at the second coming will be dead, either burned up in the lake of sulfur or destroyed by the sword that comes out of Jesus' mouth. Thus, earth itself will receive a rest. The 1,000 years in Revelation 20 are a sabbatical millennium, a Sabbath rest of 1,000 years from the works of sin. Wow. God has the neatest plans, the neatest way of doing things. And I hope that you're beginning to get a sense at the second coming of how God deals with the righteous. He resurrects the righteous dead. He calls up the righteous living. They meet with Jesus in the air, and they go to the New Jerusalem, to our Father's house that has many rooms, which Jesus has prepared for us. He, at the same time, throws the devil and the composite beast, all the Lucifer's government, into the lake of burning sulfur. He commands the rest of the wicked to death by the sword that comes out of his mouth, and earth is left vacant for 1,000 years. The devil is locked back into the abyss. There's no one to tempt. There's no one to torment. The devil is put in solitary confinement with his angels to think and reflect for 1,000 years on their upcoming destruction. Well, we're out of time, but we'll continue in just a moment.